Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Callum. I talk about films, music, and pretty much anything media related. And I'm going to do another 4K Blu-ray update today. This is about a month's worth of collecting physical media. It's not a ton of stuff, mostly just because it's been the Christmas season. Spent quite a lot of money during the Christmas season, but there's some pretty cool buys in here. A couple of new releases, a couple of stuff that's been out a couple of years that I finally got my hands on. So yeah, I've got 2 Blu-rays to show you and then the rest are 4Ks. So let's get into the Blu-rays, starting off with a nice little British indie film, Sightseers, directed by Ben Wheatley. It stars one of the female lead actress in this film is actually from Horrible Histories. That's where I knew her. And this is the film that actually got recommended to me through a university lecturer. He recommended to watch this film for our indie film and national film course. So I bought it on Blu-ray because I love myself a good British indie film. And yeah, this is a fun little take on like a road trip film. It combines lots of different genres into it. It's part black comedy, part kind of slasher road trip movie. It's really odd, but I don't think this is a film that would necessarily translate well to a foreign audience. I mean, a lot of the jokes are very subtle, they're very petty, they're very dry, and a lot of the references, you know, are stuff that's very much ingrained into British culture and not necessarily anywhere else. For example, one of the lines in this film is, "He's not a human being, he's a Daily Mail reader," or something along those lines. You know, stuff that, you know, probably wouldn't translate well out of this country. As someone who's from the UK, I found myself enjoying this film quite a bit. I don't think it's anything really all that special. I mean, there's not much of a narrative here. Lead actors do a really good job. There's some good lines here. So yeah, this is a pretty fun kind of British indie film, even though I don't think it's all that special. Next up for the Blu-rays, we've got a kind of a new release here. This came out, I believe, about a month ago now. I was going to get the 4K, but I really could not justify spending £25 on a 4K for this film. This is definitely the most controversial horror film of like the past couple of years. I mean, I'm struggling right now to think of a horror film that's come close to the amount of hatred and shitposting that this film has, but Halloween Ends right here on Blu-ray. I don't hate this film as much as most people do. I think it's a better film than Kills. I think it's a more interesting film. I kind of like the setup, the initial setup in the first act. As a final piece of a trilogy, the film does not work whatsoever. You know, half the characters that were in the first two are just completely gone out of the film. You know, the second one, really in hindsight, doesn't even matter. I mean, this film takes place four years after the second one, and it's like Kills didn't even happen, essentially. This is just one of those examples of a franchise that really should have just stopped after one film or one or two films. It's clear that David Gordon Green had absolutely no idea what he was going to do for sequels. But because I hated Halloween Kills so much, I found myself enjoying this film more just because it did do something different. You know, I liked this version of Laurie, even though it's not consistent with the first two. I still like this version of Laurie. I think some of the ideas are interesting. I like Rowan Campbell. I really actually like that actor. And some of the really batshit, just weird and insane ideas that they make, I kind of respect, and I had a laugh watching this. I did. The film definitely does shit the bed in the second half of the film. Like, character motivations begin to make absolutely no sense, and it's kind of like when they get to the last act of the film, they suddenly remember that they're supposed to be capping off this trilogy. So looking at this film as the end of a trilogy, the film does not work. Looking at it as its own film, it still doesn't really work, but I at least find it to be kind of entertaining and weird, and it takes risks. And it's probably the best looking film out of the trilogy. One of the other downfalls of this trilogy as a whole, though, is just the complete lack of suspense. I mean, there's some pretty cool set pieces in this film, some pretty cool kills, but there's virtually no suspense, which is what the original was built on. When they came out with 2018, they were like, you know, we're not going to acknowledge all the sequels, we're not going to make those same mistakes, we're going to go back to what made the original film so good. But yeah, with all these Halloween sequels that they've made, they've pretty much just made exactly the same mistakes as the other Halloween sequels did. But as the release itself, this is pretty much just continuing the trend of having really piss poor packaging and some pretty bland special features. But yeah, the transfer, it's nice. I imagine it probably doesn't look all that different to the 4K, so I'm happy with the Blu-ray. We're moving on to good stuff now. We're moving on to the 4Ks. I've become obsessed with the format recently. This title is something I picked up just after Christmas because everyone was raving about it and I hadn't seen it yet. And I'm so glad I did. I actually made a video on it a couple of weeks ago. Top Gun Maverick. This is my favourite film of last year. I think this is a masterpiece of action blockbuster cinema. If Hollywood are going to continue going down the legacy sequel route, this is what they need to pull from. They need to make everything as good as this, because this is the type of blockbuster we really don't get anymore, you know? Something that's simple and groundbreaking and cinematic and crowd pleasing. Stories, the characters are all simple, but they're all extremely well defined. The filmmaking on display here is amazing, how little CGI they used and all the practical stunts. It's just a groundbreaking film to watch, and it's not 3.5 hours long or any shite like that. This is a 2-hour film that's super tight and entertaining and extremely well made. It's just the standard 4K, it looks amazing even on my kind of subpar home cinema. It looks fantastic, especially the IMAX sequences are absolutely groundbreaking in this. I was really impressed. And the sound is incredible as well. You know, hearing those jets through my speakers sounds great. Get some pretty decent features on here actually. There's like 80 minutes worth. There's a kind of like a documentary about the making of the film, which is quite nice. So yeah, Top Gun Maverick, super happy to have this in my collection. Continuing my Arrow video collection, I've got Deep Red. I believe this release has been out for a couple of years now. I think this was one of the first 4K releases they did. And it's one that I've been seeing for so long and wanting to buy for so long. I finally bought it a few days ago and I'm super happy with it. I watched this for the first time last night and yeah, I was really impressed with it. What I love so much about Argento as a director and this genre is how they're able to take kind of like a basic slasher formula, but because of how they approach the material and how great they are as visionaries, they're able to kind of elevate the material. Any other director would have made this in the 70s, it'd probably just be forgotten. But because it's Argento, he brings such a visceral kind of visual style that's gorgeous, it's cinematic, every shot is meant to tell a story. The way he uses colour and sound and really just creates a full experience that you don't really get from any other type of film. And I think the mystery, especially as it reveals itself towards the end, is so well done. I'm actually really looking forward to rewatching this because, you know, I remember kind of watching the film, of being interested in the mystery, but not being able to put my finger on who it would be or what had really happened, and then having the twist reveal come at the end, and then rethinking about everything that came before it, and everything just became so obvious. But whilst you're watching the film, you don't think it's obvious, but once you get to the end reveal, it's like it just makes complete sense. And the way that Argento uses visual storytelling to kind of reveal this mystery throughout and these little breadcrumbs is so good. There's a surprising amount of humour in this film as well. There's actually got quite a lot of laughs. There's an amazing box set. You know, just a typically great Arrow release. You've got your poster right here, which I'll be soon to put up. Got a lovely booklet with all the information about the restoration. You know, this has been out for a while, you've probably already seen it. Then you got the actual 4K disc itself. A ton of special features, including, you know, interviews and commentaries. You get 2 discs. One of which being the original version that was released in Italy, which is the version I watched, and then the import version, which is about 20 minutes shorter, I believe. The original version, because a lot of the footage was lost, you can't get a full English dub on it, even though the film was actually shot in English. You can't get a full English dub because a lot of it just doesn't exist anymore, so it's a little bit annoying when it transitions from English to Italian with subtitles, but you know, it didn't bother me. Finally, this is the one that I've been wanting since collecting 4Ks, and I've only just got it because it's fucking expensive. It's about £70 still. And is it worth it? Maybe not, considering how cheap the packaging is and everything. But Indiana Jones, the complete 4-film collection. Obviously, it's not really going to be complete in a few months when the new one comes out. Love all of these films, even The fourth one, which a lot of people don't like, I think is fine. I think the first half of the film is actually a really solid Indiana Jones film. It definitely gets a little bit too much with the sci-fi and the CGI towards the second half, but you know, I think there's some cool set pieces and some cool ideas in the fourth one. The first one is obviously one of the greatest films ever made in terms of its pacing, its set pieces, its stunts are just absolutely incredible. Yeah, I love these films. I grew up watching them with my mum. They're some of my favourites. So I was eager to get this on 4K, and the transfers are amazing. Well, I've only watched the first two on 4K. I haven't watched 3 or 4 yet, but yeah, the first one looks absolutely incredible. Such a light, organic grain structure, looks really cinematic. The colours are so much more natural than they were on the Blu-ray, and there's just so much more sharpness and detail, even on my subpar TV. Main issue being just, compared to the Blu-ray box set which I have, the packaging is just kind of cheap and flimsy and not really all that impressive. You know, you get all the discs housed in here with, I believe, a poster as well. So it's not a bad layout, I just don't like how cheap and flimsy it is, especially when I paid £70 for it. To the end of my 4K Blu-ray update. I'm super happy with these picks that I got this time, so thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.